is after Eric.
Good evening, my name is Eric Snyder. I'm the Northwest Area Representative for New Jersey chapter of APA. I'm also a county planning director and professional planner. I've been fortunate to be involved with the state planning process since 1986 when it began with the first state plan. And over that period of time, what seemed to occur is that the state became overly interested in micromanaging affairs. They tried, from their 50,000-foot elevation, to deal with the minutia that properly belongs at the municipal and county level. I think this effort that we have tonight is an excellent start towards realizing that, playing on the state's strengths, and beginning to run the state as a business. One of the constant frustrations that everyone has had over the years is the conflicts within and among state agencies. We've said at any number of occasions that the single best thing that anybody could do would be to require the state departments, particularly DOT, DEP, DCA, to coordinate their activities. That's a larger job than this state plan can do by itself, because that's an issue that goes to legislation, it's an issue that goes to rulemaking, and it depends on strong executive leadership. For the first time in this process, we have that. And I think that this is a critical element that we all need to pay attention to. Unless and until this process is institutionalized, that there's actually a means by which coordinated state efforts can be advanced without them being dependent on any particular individual. We're at the vagaries of the political system. We're lucky right now we have a strong leader. Hopefully that goes on. These issues cannot be handled in one election cycle. These are far larger than simple plans as you might learn in graduate school. One of the significant issues, and you've all heard testimony from Chuck Latini, who's the president of the Jersey chapter, so I won't rehash that. But taxes. The tax system in the state of New Jersey works against rational planning. It says we need ratables as opposed to rational decision making. It talks about the need to locate industries which may be beneficial in one location, but in the wrong location. And so they have adverse effects on traffic and water supply and open space and all the rest of the things that we all consider to be very important. We like to be able to walk someplace if we can, but if there are no sidewalks, then you're not going to, because of course you don't want your kids walking in the street. Things like this need to be understood. They need to be focused. We think from the APA chapter's perspective that more public input would be appropriate, that the cross-acceptance process is a very important part of this whole operation, that even though it didn't get as far as we would like it to have gotten in the last couple of iterations, that this kind of public participation is critical, because unless and until you have buy-in, you're going to get nothing but controversy. And to quote somebody from a long time ago, we must all hang together, or most assuredly we will all hang separately. This has to be a team effort. This has to work from the state level, it has to work from the county level, it has to work from the town level. If we all go off in different directions and the state's the worst at the bunch, nothing will be accomplished. I recall working for a significant industry, and states would come around and do presentations looking to encourage us to locate. New Jersey has to do the same thing. We are in a very competitive environment, and this plan is a very good first step, but it's only a first step. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Mike Francis, sir. Reverend Michael Hahn is up after Mr. Francis.
Good evening. I'd like to first thank the planning official that came tonight. I know your day is a long day, and I appreciate being here also. And I would like to give some feedback on this plan. My name is Mike Francis. I'm an elected official. I sit on the Paccon Borough Council, the Paccon Land Use Board, Sussex County Planning Board, and the New Jersey Highlands Council. So I have a little bit of experience in planning and frustration also with the planning process. This plan, this draft actually is a very good first step. It actually meets a lot of the information that was gathered at the Red Tape Review Group, which I think when you look at the guiding principles for this plan, if you've been to any Red Tape Review Group meeting, these were some of the very subjects that we're talking about. Not the least of which is being dropped in a chimney down in Trenton when you had an issue. And when you climb out of that chimney, they drop you in another one, and each chimney is $10,000 to throw. So I believe this plan has a lot of value as it stands, its draft as it stands. And I don't mind it being not exact, because I don't need anybody in Trenton to tell me in my borough what I need to do, when I need to do it, how I need to do it, and where I need to do it. And I believe this plan will allow me to do that as it stands. So I don't need the exact metes and bounds, if you will, on it. The comments I have for you and some concerns that I have to do with, for example, my town. We're the entire west shore of Lake Apacon, the largest lake in the state. We don't have factories, we don't have chimneys, we don't have manufacturing. If you will, our industry doesn't have windows or roofs, it's a lake. And it brings in tourism, and it brings in tens of millions of dollars to the region and to the state. My concern is to make sure we don't get lost in the shuffle when I hear urban developments and urban whatever. I want to make sure that Sussex counties such as Sussex County and even Ocean County, a lot of the folks that live there don't work there. We don't have the business infrastructure, except for small businesses that would support that. Most people work out of town. And so I want to make sure when you do any scoring or any evaluation that very serious consideration is given to the tourism industry, because it's a big one and it's a very important one. It generates a lot of money. Don't want to lose sight of that. The other comment I have is when the dialogue takes place in the planning process, and being involved in the planning process, I know that a lot of dialogue that's really, some of it's not transparent, but it's necessary, brainstorming, if you will. In your process, I would ask that you consider having a Meadowlands, a Pinelands, and a Highlands representative as part of that dialogue, not just when something pops up where you have a problem, but as part of the process. I think it's important that you have that overall view. Folks have concerns about the environment, about water, about open space. I think it's important that you have an ongoing dialogue or input in that respect, and that will make a much more healthier planning process. And it will also let the Meadowlands, the Pinelands, and the Highlands know where they are in the process, because it's really not that clearly defined. It's acknowledged, but it needs to be clearer, it needs to be more defined. But I think you have a good plan, and I wish you well with it, and I believe that it will work. And it's a tremendous start, because if you have been involved in planning for any amount of time in this state, in our county or our town, when you look at the current land use laws, they just don't work. Look around. Go to Perth Amber, go to Patterson. We have areas in our town that the businesses have left. They didn't come back. It's just empty. It's an ongoing problem that hopefully this plan will help us fix and bring investors back to redevelop and fix what we have. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Reverend Hahn, and then after the Reverend is Carol Bivens.
Praise the Lord. My name is Reverend Michael Hahn. I'm from Clifton, New Jersey. I also am an elder in the church in Pleasantville. And sustainable growth is a code name for Agenda 21. If you go into a meeting on Agenda 21, they will explain to you that if they said it was Agenda 21, you would not go for it. So therefore, sustainable growth is another way of saying Agenda 21. Now, he may not agree with it, he may not agree with it, but I got facts that says it's true. And he knows the gentleman that has the facts, because he told me outside earlier when we were talking to another gentleman that he knows the same thing. And he may have debated him or something. But that's not the point. The point is, do we want the UN to tell us how to live in New Jersey? Nope. That is totally wrong. Now, you may not see it yet. You may not see this. But after you see all the things that this gentleman has taught us about sustainable growth and his agenda here, they're almost parallel. How could they be different? How could it not come from those same people? They have a group of people that are running this thing, like 6 different people you said that are running this, the building structure of this whole thing. Why aren't the people doing it? We the people. We become communists that we have to have 6 other people to tell us what to do. We can't do this of our own. I don't see any problem before Obama came into office of growth in the United States. We had growth all over the place. They want to take away all the single-dwelling houses and put in houses that have 8 to 20 rooms in them. This is sustainable growth. This is not for me. I reject it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorette, Katrina? Sorry, Howard Turbowitz is up after Lorette.
Hi, I'm Lorette Kratina. I'm a supervising planner with the Somerset County Planning Board. I am here to provide the county's perspective on the final draft state strategic plans and some ways that it can be strengthened. First, I want to point out that Somerset County has been a long-term supporter of state planning. We recognize the benefits to New Jersey that a workable and effective planning framework for economic growth, quality communities, and environmental preservation can have. In all our planning work, including cross-acceptance, wastewater management, and the county's master planning, we have always used a bottoms-up process engaging our municipalities, businesses, and residents. We participated in the stakeholder meetings leading up to the release of the final draft state strategic plan, and we appreciate the dialogue that has occurred between county planners statewide and the Office of Planning Advocacy staff. Somerset is the first county in the state of New Jersey to apply the Priority Growth Investment Area framework envisioned in the draft strategic plan. We developed infrastructure asset mapping tools and criteria, and by working with our municipalities, identified over 20 priority growth investment areas. Our goal is to define a comprehensive priority investment area framework for the county, obtain written support from our municipalities. We already have 8 written support letters out of 21, and adopt this as part of the county master plan, share it with the SEDS development process, and submit it to the state for designation. We applaud the governor and the lieutenant governor for their leadership and support for revamping the state planning process, as well as the Office of Planning Advocacy and the State Planning Commission for making it happen. We support the overall shift from a top-down directive placed on local governments to one that emphasizes the horizontal alignment of state agencies with the state plan's goals. Some additional policies in the plan that we support include relocating the Office of Planning Advocacy to the Department of State so it has stronger visibility and increased authority, aligning the Office of Planning Advocacy with New Jersey Business Action Center so it can succeed in enhancing opportunities for the attraction and growth of industries of statewide importance. We also support emphasizing the importance of building upon the state's infrastructure and locational assets, and prioritizing redevelopment, the reuse and remediation of existing sites and structures. And we recognize that the state plan must first and foremost guide state policy and investment decisions, and that jurisdiction over local and regional land use policies must remain in the hands of the state's municipalities and counties. We believe that the state plan can be enhanced in the following areas. First, more of the details about the plan's implementation will be worked out in the state agency strategic plans. In order to assure transparency, the guidelines that define the content of state agency plans should be included in the draft state strategic plan. And the state agency plans must be subject to public review and comment. These plans will fail if what they call for is not doable and realistic at the local level. We support the development of the scorecard system to replace the unwieldy plan endorsement process. However, work on the scorecard should happen after the priority investment framework is established and state agency plans are completed. The scorecard cannot be applied effectively until the priority investment framework is in place and state agency alignment has been achieved. A little bit more. Okay, one more. Thank you for your patience. The priority investment area framework will succeed only if it is derived through an open process that directly involves counties, municipalities, residents, and businesses. Finally, the Office for Planning Advocacy should develop targets and measures that are used to inform the state and the public about the status of the priority investment framework and the implementation status of each of the strategic agency plans. We are very grateful for this opportunity to provide these comments and look forward to working with everyone here to implement a new state plan. And in order to keep the momentum going, we encourage the state to build the necessary partnerships, particularly with counties and municipalities throughout the state, and to empower counties to advance the plan's mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard Jurowitz is up next, followed by Art Bernard. Howard? All right, we'll put Howard aside for now. Art Bernard. George Moken, M-O-K-E-N, is up after Art.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm here tonight representing the New Jersey Builders Association. And on behalf of the Builders Association, we appreciate the opportunity to comment on the state plan. And we're really pleased that the administration has chosen to breathe new life into the state planning process with the release of this draft strategic plan. The state planning process has been adrift for many years, and we believe it's very important to put it back on track. We recognize that there are no easy or simple solutions, and we appreciate the administration's willingness to take this on. We are particularly pleased with the strategic plan's emphasis on aligning state agency programs and policies. The development community has struggled for many years with conflicting and contradictory requirements and regulations from feuding state agencies. These have substantially increased the cost of housing and hampered our ability to provide new housing at affordable prices. We believe that in order to make New Jersey more competitive with respect to other states, we need to provide housing at prices our residents can afford, close to where they work. The strategic plan can make this happen. With this in mind, we would like to suggest ways for improving the proposed framework for prioritizing state resources. Priority growth investment areas should include all lands currently mapped as planning areas 1 and 2, along with all lands within existing or planned sewer service areas. All designated centers, including lap centers and coastal centers, should be included, along with lands targeted under existing state programs such as the Transit Village Program, Urban Hub Tax Credit Program, Brownfield Development Areas, and others, as well as lands targeted locally under the redevelopment statute or as affordable housing sites. It is important to note that existing environmental regulations remain in place and will continue to be enforced with these designated areas. As such, there is no danger that inclusion in a priority growth investment area would result in environmental degradation. The limited growth category should be limited to lands not in existing or planned sewer service areas and not targeted as priority conservation areas. The strategic plan should also provide greater definition of what is meant by growth in the priority growth investment areas. So the strategic plan should not encourage sprawl and new large lot, single-family development or corporate office parks in areas where no infrastructure exists to support such uses. Instead, the strategic plan should encourage more efficient use of land and increasingly scarce resource. The state should not encourage additional employment growth in regions with severe housing deficits, but rather seek to encourage a greater balance between housing and employment and between different types of housing, including rental and workforce housing. I might just depart from the prepared comments, note that the legislature in 2009 found that the housing crisis had reached such a point that a majority of the workforce had difficulty finding housing to meet their needs and housing near their jobs. Finally, we would point out that the 1985 State Planning Act was clearly intended by the New Jersey legislature to provide a statewide planning framework to facilitate implementation of the New Jersey Fair Housing Act. The current draft strategic plan does not address the constitutional issue of affordable housing. We believe that this can be overcome by providing further definition to the priority growth investment areas as previously suggested in ways that create tangible opportunities for the housing industry to build a wide variety of housing types in appropriate locations and at appropriate densities. The Builders Association will submit formal written comments on the draft strategic plan to the State Planning Commission in the near future, and we thank you for your consideration.